Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 31 of the North Star podcast. Today, we have my good friend Harry Gill here, and today I just want to go over a little bit of Harry's story on how he got started at the Fitness Lab, but also to his journey being born and raised here in Mission, living here in Mission his whole life, and just being able to have the opportunity to share his story and, the amount of time that he's been able to, do such a big impact here in Mission, and I think it's going to be a really good story for today. So Harry, thank you so much, man.
No problem.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you being here. And I just want to start off, man, by just talking a little bit about your journey here first. Obviously, cameras, you can see we're at the Fitness Lab right now, and I know you've been coming here for a long time. I just want you to just start by talking to us about why you got started here, how you got started here, and going from there.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it. This is my very first podcast, so I'm a little nervous, but I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for having me. My journey here at the Fitness Lab started when I met Vic at the Leisure Center. I'm going to say probably 20 years ago.
Wow.
And I met Vic. I started going to the Leisure Center, and there was a fairly decent amount of people that are here now that was working out with us at the Fitness Lab or at the Leisure Center at that time. And Vic being Indo-Canadian, me being Indo-Canadian, and his last name being Gill and my last name being Gill, I kind of like gravitated to him. Yeah. So we kind of hit it off pretty good. I'd see him all the time. And then there was a couple times where I think within about maybe 6 months where I said, hey, do you mind giving me some tips? And giving me a personal training thing.
Like a little package.
And he kind of was hesitant just because he was supposed to be helping everybody there. But through that, he kind of helped me out a little bit, and our relationship got better and better. And then it got to the point where he was doing classes in the studio and it was packed, and he got a huge following. And that's how I started my workouts with Vic, and that's how I met Vic. Through that, getting to Fitness Lab, I was really lucky and fortunate through my real estate career to become a partner and owning them all.
Yeah.
And Vic and I were talking, and he had said to me that one of his dreams was to have his own gym. And I don't know what happened with him in the Leisure Center. But I said to him, I said, dude, go check out our mall and go find a place and go talk to my business partner and see if you can get a spot. And he was kind of humming and hawing and said, do it. You can do it, man. Everybody loves you. And he did. And he ended up getting that one bay first. And then he opened up the gym. I think it's been 10 years now.
2025, January.
Yeah, it will be 10 years. And then when he did that, I swear, I think he took about 60, maybe 65% of the people that were working in the Leisure Center came here with him. And I was one of them. So that's how my journey started here with Vic at the Fitness Lab.
So how has it been for you to see the progression over 10 years?
It's been amazing, but I'm not surprised. Like, I've done classes with Vic for years, and I'm not saying I'm advanced, but, I've been in the same class with a kid or a person that just walked in the door, and they're in the exact same class. And his biggest attribute, he's got everybody moving. Whether you're an advanced person that works out or somebody that just walked in the door. And it's awesome the way he has that whole entire class moving for an hour and nobody stops, even if you're a beginner or if you're an advanced person in the gym.
Do you find that over the years, the progression of how things have changed has been something that has been really cool to see in the way, because you've seen Vic and you've seen the Fitness Lab grow, but also too, do you find that your journey has changed with fitness along those 10 years as well?
Oh yeah, my journey has changed big time in that 10 years. There's no secret, I've struggled with drugs and alcohol for a long time. And I'd have 1 foot in, 1 foot out of sobriety for years. And that indecisiveness cost me my relationship with Vic at one time. He kicked me out one time.
Wow.
I'll never forget it. It was a Tuesday morning. I had probably been gone for probably 2 weeks, and I just showed up one day, and I jumped on a bike, and he walked over to me and said, "No, man, you got to go." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "No, man, you got to go." So he booted me out, and I took off for about a week. I came back and I talked to him. He goes, "Look, dude, you either got to be in or you got to be out, one or the other." And that was my first serious red flag where I said to myself, "Okay, you got to make some changes here." And I made a huge change then. Vic has been one of the biggest supporters of me in my whole entire life. Dude, I love that guy. Like, he has saved my life. And he knows everything about me. And he did that in a way to kick me in the ass. And he did. And I got the message loud and clear. So to answer your question, my personal journey being here is a little bit different because it's a personal journey with me and Vic. Like, I love him like a brother. I don't know if he loves me like a brother, but I do love him like a brother. And he is somebody that I know that I can count on in every aspect of my life, whether it's nutrition, working out, personal stuff. Like, I'm going through a lot right now. He was one of the first people that I reached out to. Vic is always there for me. If I need a phone call, if I fire him a text, he'll get back to me. Sometimes a little bit too late, but it is what it is. But for me personally, yeah, my fitness journey here has been quite extensive, and it's been in and out. But lately, I've made that commitment to body, mind, spirit, health more than anything else. And I've done that over probably the last year. And it's funny because a lot of people are noticing that now.
That must be a cool feeling.
It is, because it was a joke, because when we used to do those fitness challenges with the stickers, I would do really good halfway and then I'd bail and I'd never finish one. I think I've done 10 and I've maybe finished 2. That's how bad it was for me. I'd just get one bad weekend and I would be messed for a week. I'd be hungover. I wouldn't come to the gym. I wouldn't eat, wouldn't sleep properly. And it took me a while to recover. Sorry, I think I'm rambling on here, but it's been awesome with Vic. It's something that I would never change, man.
So what do you, like, this last year you said has been probably your biggest shift with your fitness journey, correct?
Yeah.
What do you feel like how do you feel as an individual now that you've been able to prioritize that more in this last year? Like, what has changed, not just in your, when you show up here, obviously you probably are stronger, you probably feel better, like we all know that, but like, what has changed in your outside of this, like outside of the gym?
It's a great question. I made a lot of commitments to myself personally and health-wise, and I made a health in spirituality. I'm a big believer in my faith. I pray every day. I go to temple every day, and I started prioritizing my wants and needs more so than ever before. It's the old adage: if you can't love yourself, you can't love anybody else, right? And I'm really starting to learn who I am and starting to put principles that matter to me. I'm not afraid to say this. For the longest time, I was a really weak person. I would be very easily persuaded to do things like go out party, do that sort of stuff. And it wasn't healthy for me, and I didn't really know who I was. And I'm not embarrassed to say this. I've been working with a therapist for a while, and we broke myself down and started to build myself back up. And over the course of the last year, I really have made a point to, one, love myself, put myself first, and then commit to things, committing to the gym. I don't like missing a day. There's times where I've gotten sick. Normally, if I have a hockey game the night before, I won't come the next day, but I make a point to make sure I come the next day. Health and fitness, spirituality, my mental health is first and foremost. And I think that commitment to myself has been the biggest change for me over the course of last year. And it's really cool to see that for myself, but it's really cool to be getting recognized that by other people in the gym, which is really cool, because I love my 6 a.m. class. Like, that 6 a.m. time slot and the 6 a.m. people, 6 a.m. crew that's in there with me, they've held me accountable. Like, they'll say, "Where have you been? You haven't been here for 2 weeks." And it's kind of like, It's a little embarrassing, but they can figure it out. They're not stupid. They've helped me a lot, and I feel like showing up, being here, being present, it keeps me accountable, man. It really does.
So when you talk about, having, getting your mental health, your fitness, your just general health, how has that, shifted into your business as well? Do you find like that has made a big impact on how you show up every day now too with your business?
Business, for me, being a real estate agent in Mission, being born and raised in Mission, went to high school in Abbotsford. I do a lot of things. I play a lot of sports. I golf, I play hockey, I work out. Business for me is better because I'm a little bit more focused than I was before. Everybody knows I'm a real estate agent. There's other real estate agents that work out here too as well. And I don't go out looking for business in the Fitlab, but I'm lucky enough to get it.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, it's made me a little bit more focused, more present, and how do I say this? I'm more efficient with my time when I'm working, and I can not get easy. I can't get, how do I say, your mind wanders and you're doing 10
easily
different
distracted.
things. Easily distracted, getting on Instagram and stuff like that. I have a girl that does my Instagram posts and stuff like that. You can get lost for hours just scrolling, and I have, right? And the overall changes that I've made to myself health-wise has transpired into a lot of different facets of my life. My relationship with my son's a lot better.
I wanted to chat about that a little bit too, but I'm glad you brought that up.
He's a 15-year-old kid who is arguably the nicest kid I've ever met in my entire life. But he is very smart. He is very in tune with what's going on. He's very responsible to the point where it's annoying. He's more responsible than I am, and I'm 53. And he's a great kid. And my relationship with him is getting a lot better. Like, I've made a point to not him, I never wanted him to see me in that drunken state. He has before, but not much. But he has seen me in a hungover state, and that's not cool. But my relationship with him is slowly but surely getting way better than it was. And I thought we had a pretty decent relationship before.
Do you feel like the change that you wanted to make was a lot of influence on your having a better relationship with him?
Absolutely. I'm the youngest of 4 children, and I had a father, mother. Dad drank a lot. He was very mentally, physically abusive, but he was a great guy. Like, I loved him. He was my guy. I didn't have the best relationship with him. He used to beat us all the time, and I always said to myself, I would never hit. If I had a kid, I would never hit that kid. But having Ryan in my life, I'd always said to myself, I'd want a way better relationship with him than I had with my dad. But having said that, my dad was an immigrant, and he came from a third world country to Canada in the 50s. And it was hard for him. I didn't realize how hard his struggle was until he passed. And my father and I did not have the best relationship. I didn't talk to him the last 5 years of his life. And I carried a lot of anger, animosity, like a lot of anger towards him. There was a time in my teens where I hated him. Like, I wished he died. And I took a lot of that stuff with me for a long time. And that led to drinking, partying, pity pot stuff. And when Ryan was born, I always said to myself, I don't want to have that relationship with him. But it's hard because I never was taught certain things from a father's aspect. Because my dad, he was a great provider. Like, he roof, clothes, food, that sort of stuff. Other than that, he wasn't very a loving, touching, like, type of father. And I try to hug and kiss and tell my son I love him every single day, to the point, like, he's a very, very accomplished swimmer. And I didn't want him to be a swimmer because I wanted him to play hockey because I play hockey. And I thought he'd be the next greatest hockey player, and it didn't work. So he fell into swimming, and I was like, I don't know, man. Like I only watch swimming once every 4 years during the
Olympics.
Right? So I was just like, and then I said to myself, well, this will last what, a month, maybe a summer, and then he'll quit that. And he took off, and he was amazing. He's one of the best swimmers out there. And I was that loser dad that was cheering his kid on the pool deck. And I had no idea what I was cheering about. And it was great. And I loved it. And I loved the fact that he picked a sport that I didn't know, so that I can't drive home with him and rip into him because he didn't do a flip turn properly or didn't come out of the turn quick enough. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But I would lose my shit cheering for him though. And it was great. And to see him go from just a beginner to winning and doing really well. It's not about the winning. It was about seeing the confidence in this kid growing up. Like from a 7-year-old, from 7 to 10, to see that confidence that he got from doing well in the pool was amazing. To me, that was the best thing. I don't think hockey, golf, football, basketball. I was a basketball player. I didn't want him to play basketball, but to see him grow and the confidence that he got from that was amazing. It was absolutely amazing, and it was well worth it.
It's really cool, man. I think the cool part about that is that, you know, doing a sport that you had no clue, that you didn't know anything about, right? Like it's something that you probably had to learn and you had to probably adapt. And
I'll tell you a true story. He played hockey for Hockey 1 and Hockey 2. Damon was his coach in Hockey 1, and I knew halfway through Hockey 1 this was not going to last. And Damon's like, do not quit. Keep bringing him. Keep bringing him. Something will click. Something will click. And I said, okay, I will. And I knew it wasn't going to work. So I brought him back for Hockey 2. We had a kind of a fun practice at Christmas time. And Ryan's had a lot of meltdowns. We did this drill called Sharks and Minnows. And where it is, the coaches are in between the blue lines and the players have to skate and get through the coaches to get to the other side.
Oh, okay.
Right? So the coaches would try to go get the better players and leave the lesser players.
Yeah.
So one of the coaches checked one of the stronger kids. So he became a shark. Well, that kid lined up right in front of Ryan. And as soon as Ryan got the puck, he checked Ryan. Ryan had a meltdown. And Ryan's had a few meltdowns playing hockey. And I knew this one was different. So I took him to the bench. I sat him down. I said, what's wrong? He goes, Dad, I always lose. And I said to him, it's not about winning. I said, just do your best, right? Just see what you can do. And he was really, really sad. And I said to him, I said, Ryan, do you want to go home? He goes, no. And I said, are you saying you want to stay because Dad likes hockey? And he goes, yeah. And I said to him, I said, Ryan, if you want to go home, we can go home. And he looked at me and he goes, Dad, I want to go home. So I said, okay, let's go home. So we went home, and my wife was at home, and we had been gone for about an hour, and practices are usually 2 hours. So we came back about a lot earlier, and she said, well, what's wrong? And I said, Ryan's hockey career's done. I'm going to go because I need to go for a drive. And I went for a drive because I wasn't sad that his career was over, because I wanted him to play so bad, because the kids that were on the team, I knew every single kid. I knew every single family. I knew that was a friend group that I wanted Ryan to be a part of.
Yeah.
I didn't care if he excelled or if he played house hockey, rep hockey. I didn't care. I just wanted him to be a part of a team, because I grew up playing basketball, and it was the best 8 years of my life. So I said, look, I got to go. I just want to go for a drive, because I feel horrible that I took my son somewhere for a year and a half that he didn't want to be at. So I went for a drive. It was about 45 minutes into my drive. My wife called me. She goes, you better get home. I go, why? She goes, he's in the living room looking out the window with his gear still on because he thinks you're mad. What? That killed me. And from that, I had told his coaches that, dude, I'm sorry. I told his coaches that, he's done. And one of the mums from the team was on the Mission Marlins swim club association. She goes, bring him to swim. And I go, he doesn't know how to swim. She goes, just bring him to swim. I said, he can't go up and down the pool. She goes, just do me a favor. Bring him to swim. Give me 3 weeks or give me 2 weeks. I'll pick him up from the front entrance. You just come back after 2 weeks and then tell me what you want to do. So I gave him 3 weeks. I came back after 3 weeks, and this kid was ripping it up and down the pool in every stroke. And I was like, holy smokes, like that's really cool. And he wanted to do it. I said, okay. And I don't know if you know anything about swimming.
I don't know much. No,
summer swim's a full commitment. There's no time off. You're in the pool 7 days a week, sometimes twice a day, every weekend, from May long weekend to Labor Day long weekend. You might get 2 weekends off. You're in the pool every day.
Yeah, every day. So
my wife and I selfishly were like, oh God, this is going to be a long summer. And I just said to her, I said, dude, he's not going to be very competitive. He's not going to win very much. He'll maybe do 3 meets. So we did the Mission meet.
Yeah.
We missed Maple Ridge. And then we did Hope. And Hope was the furthest meet away. So we had to get up at 4:30 in the morning
to get out there.
To get out to Hope.
Yeah.
And me and my wife, my first year, his first year, were like, we're not doing this, man. We're not doing this every weekend. And I said, don't worry about it. He's not going to want to commit to every weekend. And I'll never forget, Sunday night, after the second day of his second meet, we're driving back, and he goes, I want to do them all. And I'm like, what do you mean you want to do them all? Like all the strokes? He goes, no, I want to go to all the meets. And I looked at my wife, and she looked at me, and we just kind of looked at each other. We didn't say anything, but I knew exactly what we were saying. Like, we're in now.
Yeah.
And that's how he started swimming. And
cool.
It was an incredible journey, man. Like he was, I've played a lot of sports, and I've been lucky enough to be on a lot of great teams and win a lot of big games. Nothing compared to seeing this kid swim. You can talk to a lot of people that are within the swim community. There's a lot of videos of me. There's parents of my buddies will take videos of me watching Ryan's race, and it is a shit show. And I was that guy. Yeah, I think I was. Mitch McCormick calls me the LeVar Ball of swim dads. So that's how his journey started, and it was so cool, and it was so fun to watch.
Oh, that's super cool, man. I'm happy you share that, because I think, we don't. We all see these outside things of people's lives, but we don't always get to hear the deep kind of insight to it. So I think it's really cool that you're able to share that too. So
it's hard, like we as first generation Canadians, it's a tough gig, man, because we live two different lives. We live a life at home with expectations from our parents and our culture, and then we have being born in the Western world where you watch a lot of the TVs and stuff like that, and you have expectations and wants and needs that you want to have for your life. And at a point, it clashes. If your parents don't adapt to the Western world, you're going to have a real tough time. My dad didn't adapt to the Western world. He was stuck in his ways of doing things, right? So it was really hard. And, a lot of people sometimes succumb to drugs and alcohol like I did. And that's how I coped with a lot of stuff. And I don't want that relationship for Ryan. Ryan's a really smart kid. And, I feel very confident that, is he going to make the right decision every single time? Probably not. But all the big ones, I think he'll make the right decision.
Have you, based off kind of Ryan's journey with swim and stuff, does he have any specific goals with swim and like kind of after high school? Like
he's at that crossroads right now. I personally feel if he did take the next step, he could be really special. But I don't know if he wants to. Now, I've learned this in my personal journey through athletics. I was a basketball player. I would have done anything to play at the highest level, and I did. I transferred from Mission Junior Secondary to Abbotsford to go play ball there. Now, Ryan has had the opportunity to do winter swim in Chilliwack, and that's a commitment, and he doesn't want to make that commitment. And I'm not going to force him to. If he came to me and said, Dad, I want to do winter swim, I said, let's go. Yeah. I'll move heaven and earth to get you to practice, get you back to school and back to practice. But it's a commitment that he didn't want to make. And I don't know, you know, he's a very well-liked kid. He's a very coachable kid. Like, you tell him to do something, he'll do it. He might not like it, but he'll do it. But yeah, I don't know if, you know, I don't know if he's going to swim again. That was sad. I think last year at UBC when he had his provincials, it was a tough day, the last day of the meet, because I think we all kind of knew it was his last kick at the can. There's a lot of families and a lot of younger kids that looked up to Ryan, and they were like, Ryan, you got to come back one more year. You got to come back one more year. And he was emotional, and it was the first time I saw him get emotional because he knew it was his last year.
Yeah, the transition is tough. Like, I even kind of growing up playing high level sports, it's, you know, when you got to make the choice to kind of like it's done, it's a tough one, especially if you've been doing it for so long.
You know what, it's a hard one because I'll tell you about and I can relate to Ryan here too, because I made the commitment to leave Mission and go play basketball in high school in Abbotsford. And we were really, really good. We were nationally ranked. We were provincially ranked. During the season, we would always be gone. We were never in class. We were never at school. And I didn't take school seriously. Like, I was good enough to get scholarships, letters from schools and stuff like that. And then I didn't take school seriously. And the thing about Ryan is he wants to be an architect. So he's really doubled down on his schoolwork. He does realize that grade 10, 11, and 12 are going to be pivotal years for him to get to where he wants to go to. His goal is get to UBC. He wants to become an architect. And that's something that I'm really proud of, because he has that vision. I didn't have that vision. I didn't care about school. I didn't go to school. All I did was want to party, basketball, play ball. And then once high school ball was done, I'll never forget, I had a friend of mine from high school. I went to school with her for 3 years. She was our student body president. She was fantastic. We had a great relationship. She sat me down one day after basketball season before graduation. She goes, "What are you going to do now?" I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "What are you going to do?" I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You basically fucked around for 3 years. All your friends are going to university. All your friends are doing stuff. Where are you going next year? What are you doing?" And I was like, holy shit, that was an aha moment. And I was crushed, because it took me a long time to get over the fact that there was no more ball, right? And that's what I live for. And through my work, I do a scholarship through the high school.
Oh, okay.
So it's the Harry Gill Real Estate Corporation bursary. And I go through these applications every year, and it's the hardest decision that I have to make.
I can imagine, man.
It is, and they're great kids. And I look back at my high school years, and I was like, dude, you missed an opportunity. I didn't take school seriously. If I would have taken school seriously, I think my life would have been different. So when Ryan decided to stop swimming, and I see him focusing on where he wants to go and what he wants to do, I'm extremely proud of him. Like, he is an amazing kid, and I wish I had that foresight and wherewithal to, you know, I thought I was going to the NBA, but that reality got shot down. That dream got shot down real quick.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, thing with sports too. It's hard, man. Like, it's, especially if you identify with it too, right? If that's all
I
you
lived,
kinda
eat, and
know.
breathed it. I played basketball from the age of 12 to 25 every day, every single day. That's all we did, is we played ball. Rain, snow, anything. Get a gym. Somebody had a key to a gym. We'd get the boys out and we'd be playing ball all the time. All the time. And it took me a long time to get over that. A long time to get over that.
So I'm now curious I kind of want to pivot, because it's actually a good transition point in the aspect of, you know, you get out of that high school, you don't really know, you used to playing ball, don't really know what you kind of want to do, but when does real estate kind of really take a toll, or when does that really kind of come into your life?
I had a bunch of dead-end jobs. I had 2 dead-end jobs, were Monday to Friday. I shouldn't say dead-end jobs. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
They're Monday to Friday, 8 to 4:30, and they're physical jobs.
Yeah.
And I worked in a mill, a lumber mill for the longest time. And I had a lot of great friends, made a lot of great friends, picked up some pretty bad habits. We drank a lot, we partied a lot. And I just fumbled through it. And then I had a girlfriend. We broke up. We kind of got reconnected. And she was in the mortgage broker world. Mm-hmm. She's my wife now. She was doing a lot of business with a real prominent realtor in town. And I knew her husband from the golf course. So we went out for dinner, and I had never met this person. She's very prominent. I was really nervous. And we had gone for dinner, and it was great. We hit it off, and we went home. I had to get up early, so I went home, and then I called my girlfriend, wife now, at break, and I said, "Hey, what did she think? Like, how did she like me?" And she goes, "Yeah, she loves you. She wants to offer you a job." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean? Like putting up her real estate signs or stuff like that?" She goes, "No, she wants you to sell houses." I started laughing. I was like, "There's no way I get one, past the course, and then two, like who's gonna want to do business with me?" She goes, "Well, if you want to do it, she'll give you a job." And I said, "Okay, well, let's try it. Let's see what happens." So I went to the Sauder School of Business at UBC. I did it online. I was nervous. This is the first time in my life where I gave it my all, and I really focused and really tried to get my license. And I wrote the exam, and back then I wrote it at Canada Place with a bunch of people, and you didn't get your results back for like 2 weeks. So I wrote it, and I felt like, dude, I bombed that thing. Like, there's no way I passed. Then I went from, okay, well, maybe you're overreacting. Then I was like, okay, dude, I think I passed that thing. I think I'm going to be okay. I got my results back. I failed by 2 marks. I was so crushed, but I was relieved too, because I was so nervous about, well, what if I pass, and how am I going to get business? So I wrote it again about 4 months later. I ended up passing. I became a realtor in April 1st, 2005 is when I first started. And I tell young realtors all the time, if you're going to get into the business, go find a high producing realtor and go work for them. Because that's what I did for 2 years. And it was awesome. Like, she was great. She taught me a lot about the business. She didn't take no BS. She's like, get out there, go meet people, go work your angles, like go work your family and friends, what you do for work. But I knew a lot of people in Mission and Abbotsford. So just from being born and raised here. So that whole anxiety of like, who's going to do business with me went away really quick, because I got in the business and it was really, the market was really good. So I was like doing deals right away. And that's how I got into being a realtor.
How does it look now compared to when you started for you?
Night and day. It's so different. Like, I'm going into my 20th year, and it's the legal stuff that you need to know about putting a contract together and talking to people compared to what it was when I first started is night and day. I talk to old timers all the time who've been in business 40 years. They used to do a contract on 1 page. I can do a contract for a condo. It could be 19 pages long. And we have to know everything that's in that contract. There's realtors out there that'll try to slip stuff in there to make you look bad. And you really got to go through the whole entire contract. It's changed completely from when I first started, and it's changing constantly.
What's a big mistake that real estate agents make?
That's a tough question. For me,
sure, yeah,
or taking things for granted. Like, I've been in a lot of great markets, and you're making money hand over fist, and you're just falling ass backwards into deals and clients and stuff. But when the market changes, it's a grind. You got to go into survival mode. Just pay your bills, live your lifestyle, maybe cut down some vacations and some dinners out and stuff like that. For me, it's taking business for granted. I'll never take being busy for granted ever again, because there's been times in my career like, dude, I don't want my phone to ring. You don't ever, and when it doesn't ring, you're like, shit, dude, is my phone working? Did I pay my bill? Right? So there's a lot of different aspects. Like, the best piece of advice I ever gotten was, don't keep your highs too high and don't keep your lows too low. Meaning that if you're killing it, it's not going to be like that all the time. And if you're doing 1 deal a month, it's not going to be like that all the time. You got to find that balance. You got to find that balance and just kind of stay there.
Do you find that being a real estate in Mission, I know you mentioned born and raised and everything, you know a lot of people in Mission, but do you find that it was hard to be a real estate in Mission just because you had mentioned the competition, there was other people, things like that? Like what's the...
My biggest thing that I did, and I regret it, and I don't do it anymore, is I'd always compare myself to people that I feel like are my equal or my peers. I'm never afraid of the business. I'm never afraid of competition because I'm very confident in my abilities. If I'm going to do a CMA, where I'm going to go look at a house, try to get a listing, and they tell me that there's 2 other real estate agents, I have no problem with that. I love it because I know 90% of the time I'm not going to leave that house without that listing. Other agents are probably a little bit more elaborate and more techie than I am. It doesn't bother me one bit. I'm very confident in my abilities to get a listing and do what I need to do to get that listing. So I'm not, being a real estate agent in Mission and stuff like that, in competition stuff, I'm not worried about it. I got a lot of great friends in the lab that I work out with that are real estate agents.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And I wish them nothing but the best. I will never, have I done stupid things? Yeah, I have. Have I been territorial? Yeah, I have. And that's stuff that I have to learn, and I've learned from that. I'll give you an example. My best friend growing up, his older brother was like an older brother to me. And he taught me one of my most valuable lessons. He bought a house and he used somebody else. And I was livid. And he was my financial advisor at the time. So I trusted him with everything that I had. I went into his office and I read him the Riot Act. And he's about 4 years older than me. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met. And he understood why I was mad, and he let me rant. He let me vent. He called me the next day. He goes, "We're going to go for coffee." And I said, "Good, because I want to apologize." He goes, "I don't want an apology, but I want to teach you something." He goes, "You need to understand that me and you are brothers, and I love you to death. But you also need to understand that when you're buying stuff, that you trusted me with your financial portfolio, which I, appreciate. Yeah. When I'm buying a house, you're going to need to know financial stuff about me that I don't want you to know, because that's crossing the line from professionalism to personal, and I don't want you to know my personal stuff." And he goes, the quicker you understand that you're going to have relationships with people that you love, that you care about, and that you hang out, they might not want to do business with you. And it's not because they don't like you. It's just because there's personal information that's going to be shared that they probably don't want to share with you. And you need to wrap your head around that. That was my second year in real estate. And I learned that lesson really early on, and it really changed the way I thought about things. So like, if I'm in here in the lab and there's other agents that are in here and somebody from the lab goes and lists their house with them, I don't take it personal. Where I probably would have if I wasn't taught that lesson. So to answer your question about competition and stuff like that, it's great. I feel that there's enough business out there for everybody to eat, right? So have I lost clients? Yeah. Have I gained clients? Yeah, I have. Right. So it's doing business in Mission is great. There is a lot of realtors, but that doesn't bother me one bit. I'm very confident in my abilities to take care of my people, and I have a very good clientele base too.
So now it's been about, you say 20 years coming up here in April. What's your goals for business? That you've been now in for 20 years. Probably a lot changed since you started. What do you have now goal planned for business moving forward?
To be honest with you, that's a really good question. And I have a full-time assistant, and I can honestly tell you that I got a little bit complacent, a little comfortable for a long time. I have a pretty good life. I golf a lot, hockey a lot, travel a lot, and things are starting to change in my life personally, where I need to get out of that comfort zone, and I'm getting out of that comfort zone. So for me, I kind of feel like I'm starting back at square one, to be honest with you. And that's a pretty good feeling to have after 20 years, because I find, and this goes into health and working out, and I'm sure you've seen it in the gym where people get complacent with the gym, and you need a little bit of a shakeup every now and then to get yourself going. And I'm doing a major change in my life at the moment. It's a scary one, but I'm excited about it, and it's kind of rejuvenated me a little bit to focus a little bit more on work working out, gym, diet, excuse me. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of goal planning, like different types of goal planning this year, going into this year, into 2025, that I probably haven't done in 10 years, 5 years.
Is there, when you come down to, you know, you had mentioned something that kind of stood out to me is, you know, after 20 years now, you've been doing it, a lot's changing in your life. Was there like a specific, usually when I hear these things, there was like a clicking moment or an aha moment. What, if you don't mind sharing, what was that recently that kind of really shifted for you?
That's a great question, man. I've had a few, and it has to do with drinking and drugs. Like I said, I've had a few, but the one that I did have, I had to ask myself, it's either one or the other, right? And I've been 1 foot in, 1 foot out for the longest time. I were to go 5 years clean and sober, I'd go 4 years clean and sober, I'd go a year, I'd go 2 years. And that goes back to my story with Vic, where I'd be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And, you know, one of the times when he booted me out was one of the first, like, dude, you got to get your shit together. And then I'd say just over a year ago, I had one, and I was like, you got to make a decision. It's either you're in or you're out. And it was do or die, and I had to do it. So I just made that commitment, and to put myself first, and to health, happiness first, foremost, before anything else. And I find that once I did that, everything else in my life is starting to fall into place, where I'd put a lot of other people's wants and needs before mine. And that was completely wrong. And I was starving for that appreciation. I was starving for that validation from them. And I wasn't getting it. And I knew I was never going to get it. And it's like, not just like work. I wasn't getting it from the people that I was working with. I wasn't getting it from my hockey team that I needed to get from, you know, and I was a real people pleaser, man. I would do whatever people wanted me. I'd never say no to anybody. Everybody wanted something to move. You want to get something, I'll do it. And I do it because I want them to like me. And I knew I had to stop doing that. And I partied a lot because I had those insecurities, and it was just really hard. And I used to mask that. One thing I do a lot is, I'm a pretty quick-witted guy, and I used humor as a mask. And I used to do that all the time. And there's times where I'll walk in here, like I feel like I'm pretty funny sometimes. And with Parker and some of the other guys in the gym, they'll be giving one
little banter,
yeah, and it's funny. And there's times where I'll walk in here and I won't say a word, and I just want to keep my mouth shut. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to be that guy. Sometimes I hate where I stand in the gym, because I'm right in the middle. Yeah. Sometimes I want to be in a corner, and I don't really want to talk to people. And people say, hey, what's wrong? Like, what's going on? Yeah. I'm like, well, fuck you, leave me alone. I don't want to talk about it. Yeah. Right? I've had a few aha moments, and the last one I had is, I don't want to get into too much detail, but I knew if I didn't change, it wasn't going to be good for me. So I just made that commitment. I made that commitment to putting myself first, and putting my health, spirituality, my mental health though. My mental health was a big one. My mental health was really bad, really bad. And once I made that commitment and following through with it and seeing the changes, like, I've talked to you about nutrition for how many years? How many times have you given me a list of foods to eat, and I'd be like, fuck this, I ain't doing it. Oh man, yeah. I've changed a lot of my eating habits. I'm not a sugar guy like I used to be. And I've seen the changes in my body, and I've seen the changes in my weight loss. And it feels great, man. I feel fantastic. Like, it's been a huge shift, and making those commitments to changing, you know, partying and drinking and going out with the boys. Like, my hockey team I play with, I'm the oldest guy, not only on our team, but I think I'm the oldest guy in the league. And I just did our Christmas party. with them about a couple weeks ago, and they were getting after it. And I'm 30 years older than these guys. 20, the youngest guy on our team is 21, and then the most of them are in the like early 30s.
Yeah.
I'm 20 and 30 years older than these guys, and I would be partying with them. And I was like, dude, you've had your fun.
Yeah.
This is their time. And I went to the party, and it was on a Friday night, and I said to myself, I got to be at the gym in the morning. So I bailed out of there at 10:45, where I wasn't going to do that 2 years ago.
Probably felt good though, that you committed to yourself.
It did. It did feel really good to finally grow up a bit. It took me 50 years to figure this thing out, and it's good. I mean, it's great. I'm glad I made those changes. It's never too late. I tell these guys all the time, you don't want to be doing what you're doing now into your late 40s.
Yeah.
It's not cool. It's not healthy. And it was cool, like to come home and go to the gym in the morning the next day, and not having to pick up the phone and say, what girl did I call, or what guy did I call in the middle of the night, or what, like the biggest thing for me is like, who do I have to apologize to the next day for what I said?
Yeah.
Right. And I don't have to do that anymore. Right. It
must feel relief though. That's a big relief, man.
I wouldn't say relief just because I've done it for so long before. I've had long periods of sobriety. It's just easier. Everything's easier.
You're not making it as hard for yourself.
No, going to bed, going to sleep is a lot easier. Waking up is a lot easier.
Yes. Yeah.
I hated being hungover, man. I had a couple hangovers that if I had a gun, I would pull the trigger. They were that bad.
No.
It's just easier on the pocketbook. You're saving money.
Yeah.
It's just way easier, man. Like, I highly recommend it. Like, nothing good happens after midnight, right? And a lot of people don't realize that, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are still stuck into, like, for me, in my culture, my dad would always drink with his uncles. My mom, the women would never drink, but the guys would. And that's all we did. We see our parents, we see our dads every Friday grabbing a bottle and drinking it as fast as they can, getting as drunk as they could. And that's what we did when I was 16 years old. We'd go get a half sack of beer and we'd drink it as fast as we could to get as drunk as fast as we can. Yeah. And that's what we were supposed to do. And it's not like that. And I'm finding it took me a long time to figure that out, but I'm finding there's way better things to do than just go out and get drunk and partying all the time.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about kind of a last little thing, but I'm just happy that you were able to share so much about the in-depth because, like we were chatting off when the cameras weren't rolling, like, you've been doing this for 20 years in Mission. People see your signs. They see the benches, they see the buses, they see the ads, they see all these things, but you don't really actually know what goes on in someone's life when you see, oh, this person's successful, this person's doing this, they're doing this. But the behind the scenes is like really cool, that I think that a lot of people will like to hear of this story, because it shows that, even this person you might look as super successful has also gone through a lot of shit.
It's funny you say that, because I worked in a mill. I worked with my hands since I was 6 years old. And not many people know that I've had that background. Mm-hmm. People look at me now, like in my office, they see the lifestyle that I live and how hard we've worked to get to this level. And people think that I've had this bougie life my whole life, that people, house cleaners and that sort of, no, man. Dude, I worked in lumber mills for a long time. I worked physical jobs for a long, long time. I picked berries when I was a kid. Like, I picked berries since I was 6 years old to 16. I will not eat a raspberry product to this day because of my experience picking raspberries. My wife made cheesecake one time with a raspberry sauce on it. Says, thanks, but no thanks. You can take that. I'm not eating that stuff. But yeah, people don't know the struggles that you have and what you've gone through to get here. Like, I can guarantee you most of my Caucasian friends had no idea what type of life their Indo-Canadian friends lived growing up. They had no clue. They did not know the struggles that we went through as children to get through. Like, it was hard. Like, our parents had a lot of expectations and ideas of what they wanted our lives to be. Like, I could talk to you for hours on the stuff that I had to go through and survive because I wanted something different for my life than my dad and my mom wanted me for. Like, it was tough. It was very, very difficult. And it goes back to my earlier comment that parents back in that generation did not adapt to the Western world. They were stuck in the Indo-Canadian worlds, like arranged marriages. You do what I say or else I'm not going to give you X, Y, and Z. And that's the life I lived. And I was the youngest of 4 children. And I had to go through a lot because my 2 older brothers did what they needed to do to survive. And it was hard. It was not easy living in my home with my dad and my mom and having what their ideas were for me. And it didn't align with what I wanted to do. And there was a lot of conflict there. So to answer your question, yeah, people see you being a realtor and having this life, but they have no idea of what you've gone through and to get to where you need to get to.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm glad they shared it. And there's the last kind of thing that I wanted to just touch on a little bit before we end it off and call it for the podcast is you had mentioned counseling. What's one thing that's like really, maybe one or two or a few or however you want to go about it, but what's something you've taken away doing counseling? What's really like impacted you?
I'll be 100% honest with you. I'm working with 2.
Okay.
And I've worked with one. I've worked for both of them for about 10 years plus.
Okay.
If it wasn't, one's a female, one's a male. If it wasn't for those 2, I would not be here right now. That's 100% true. Like, a lot of myths in our community is like a lot of Indo-Canadian men don't talk about their feelings. When I was introduced to my counselor, who's a female, I was going to bullshit her. And I bullshitted her for I've been with her for 10 years. I probably bullshitted her for 6 years.
Wow.
Just because I didn't want to tell her things about me, like personal, like really deep, like really, really dark, shameful things. And over that, and she knew I was bullshitting her. And then I there's nothing she doesn't know about me. And it's in that relationship, we've gotten closer and closer. And I wouldn't be here right now. I swear to God, I would not be here right now if it wasn't for those 2. It's the most powerful thing. And I'll advocate for that, for them, therapy. It's not cheap, but it's well worth it. Like, they're fantastic. And I'm not ashamed to tell people that I'm working with therapists.
I don't think you should be, man.
But there's that stigma.
No,
especially
100%.
with
I get
men
it.
that don't like to
man.
talk about feelings and stuff like that. Like, coming here is therapy for me. Talking to Vic, like when Vic asks me how I'm doing, I can look him dead in the eye and say, you know what, today's a good day. Or, you know what, I'm doing shitty right now. He goes, okay, well, call me later. Right. And I've got a lot of relationships like that where I can be honest with people. I had one today after the 7 a.m. class. I had a conversation with a person that was in the gym, and she goes, I can tell there was something wrong with you, that something was off. And she goes, I said, well, now when you ask me how I'm doing, I can honestly tell you how I'm doing. Yeah, for sure. So therapy's great, man. It's been an absolute game changer for me, and I cannot live my life without it. The other thing too that I've really tapped into is my faith. And I don't think a lot of people realize how much I'm committed to my faith. I pray every day. I didn't used to. When I was a kid, my mom used to make me pray every day, and I hated it. I didn't like going to the temple because I wanted to watch football. Yeah. But I'm a big believer in my faith. I pray every single day, and that's been another thing that's really changed my mental health, is being tapped into spiritual, into my Sikh faith, because I do feel like God has a plan for me. And I don't think a lot of people realize how much that means to me and how much faith I have in a higher power.
Oh, well, man, it's been an honor, man. I'm I've known you for 10 years, almost coming up to 10 years here. And, some of the stuff that I heard today, I didn't even know about you. So it's been cool to get to know you more and have a conversation. Usually how I end these podcasts is I kind of allow you to just kind of plug yourself in the way of, you have a business. So kind of if anybody needs to find you anywhere, where can they find you? So
you know what? People know who I am.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't mean to say that. I do not mean to say that in the arrogant, cocky state. It's been an honor to be here. Like, I've watched your podcast. I watch a lot of podcasts. I've never done one, so I don't know how this is going to translate when I see it. Hopefully I didn't make a fool of myself. I don't want to plug myself, man. This is not about Harry Gill real estate. Yeah. This is about Harry Gill, the person. Yeah, for sure. And I'm just going to leave it at that, man. But it's been a pleasure, and it's been an honor. And Jeremy, I do want to say this to you guys and some of the other people here in the lab, like Acom. Is it Jill or Jillian?
Jill, yeah, Jill.
Those guys' classes, yourself, Dylan, obviously Vic,
Bailey.
Bailey's been great because Ryan worked out with Bailey a lot. I've known Bailey since he was a child. This whole family of Fitlab, I don't know, hopefully you guys realize this, but how much lives you guys have touched and changed. And it's such an honor to be here, and it's such an honor to tell people that, I belong to the Fitlab, and it's a great place. And I'm so happy. And I'm Acom and Jillian's classes on Saturday, because everybody wants Vic.
Yeah.
Right. And I said that to Vic.
Yeah.
You can't spread yourself too thin, because people are here to see you. Yeah. Right. So when we'd come Saturdays, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm sorry to say this, but when you used to do Saturday classes, like, oh shit, man, he doesn't give me that workout that Vic did at first. Yeah. Right. Acom and Jill are the same way, but they've changed so much, and you've come so far. Yeah. And I'm so proud of you to see you evolve.
Appreciate that.
And your change. And it just motivates me in my change, in my path. And like I said, this is a huge part of my life. And you guys have touched a lot of people's lives, man. You've changed a lot of people's lives. And it's great, man. I'm so happy to be here.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. I'm going to... just got my little final notes, but I just want to thank everyone for listening to episode 31 of the North Star podcast with Harry Gill, and we'll call it, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.